What up, y'all?
This is Brittany.
I'm Mandisa.
And I'm Jamal.
And we are your hosts of...
We're your hosts of...
And we're the host of...
Living Millennials.
Living Millennial.
Living Millennials.
A podcast where you'll be hearing three different perspectives and emerging stories from three different millennials on everyday life and trending topics.
Hey, welcome back to the Living Millennial podcast. This is Jamal.
This is Brittany.
And we are so glad to be back with you all today. Today we have a special guest, Taylor, who's in the building. Woo, woo. So happy to have you today, Taylor. Just to give you a little background on Taylor. Taylor has earned her degree in business finance. She's very familiar with building from the ground up and will be recurring guest with us this season. And she's our financial expert. So today we will be discussing starting the journey of preparing for the worst. Taylor, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so honored to be here to give some financial advice.
We're so glad to have you, man. I know I need financial advice. Story of my life.
Listen.
So we're so glad to have you today. Thank you so much. So Taylor, tell us, what's your background?
Well, I am a native of San Diego. I've been in San Diego all of my life. I joined the military, so I am an Army veteran.
Thank you.
I used that military background to pursue my education. I earned a bachelor's. Well, I'm still working on my bachelor's, finishing that up now, but I have an associate's degree in business management and accounting, and I'll be done with my bachelor's in a year at the University of Phoenix.
Nice. University of Phoenix.
Yes, what's the Phoenix mascot?
I don't know. Is it like a falcon or something?
Well, I would hope it was a damn Phoenix.
You know what? I just know they were Red Sox, so I'm just here,
She's like, let me just get my degree. I'm not here for nothing else.
Yeah, that's real. I can relate. I've gone to 3 different universities, and when people ask me that question, it takes me a few minutes to even think of something that may not be true. So I understand that. Okay?
You ask Siri? Do you ask Siri?
No, I just think and I just say things that aren't actually the truth. And I think that they aren't. Like, get home and look at a piece of paper and like, oh, that's the mascot.
That is hilarious. But
that's funny.
Like, seriously, who's going to Google it, though? No one's going to, fact check you on the mascot.
Well, I'm over here trying to give y'all a shout out. Yeah. And
I mean, the mascot, you can ask high school mascot,
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, being as though I am or used to be a college athlete, mascots is something that, I actually look forward to talking about. So I'm sorry. My bad. Go Vikings.
Like the mascot is your bank account. That's the mascot.
Listen, right, that part. So
wait, hold on. I'm thinking about my financial institutions. I'm like, maybe Federal have a bank mascot? See, you got
listen. Serious? All right, anyways. All right, well, you're getting your degree. Well, that's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing to focus on right now, right? By the way, listeners, Taylor and I are friends in real life.
Hey, girl. Hey.
We actually met through mutual friends.
A few years ago, huh? It's been a while.
Some years back, yeah. And then we reconnected. And she's just one of those folks who, like, you can talk about any and everything with. But she is about her business, and that's definitely something that I admire. So I wanted to be sure to get her on the show and kind of spread the knowledge that she's willing to give us. What pushed you to begin to focus on your financial future and to contribute to that?
I was broke. I reached that point where I was working every day, living paycheck to paycheck, and I wasn't understanding how I wasn't making it. I'm making a decent, living off of a decent salary. However, my account was getting ready to go into red before my next paycheck. So honestly, that for me, that's what I had to actually teach myself on how to become financially literate. And it wasn't what I learned in any classes. It was YouTube. It was listening to, entrepreneurs and things like that. But to answer your question, that's what made me make some changes in my life.
Okay. I think we can all relate to that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's most of us in America, right? And I know my family, living paycheck to paycheck is so interesting that that's always the situation, even when you're making money. It's like, this is what my mom always say, I don't know why. I seem like I don't got no money. I never got no money. What do I go to work for?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a challenge, for sure, and an awakening for sure.
And I actually remember hearing similar things from my parents too, and swearing on everything that would never be me, right? But psych your man, your booty shine. That's me right now. That's me right now. And you know what? And I actually want to talk a little bit too, just about being a millennial and how much we do work. Right? Some of us have 2 to 3 jobs. We working all the time. Jamal, you're a good example of that. You work all the time.
Yes, I do.
And for a lot of us, you know, we work and work and work, but it can sometimes still not be enough. And even with the degree, it can definitely feel like that. I know that's how I feel right now. And I know that's definitely how I felt in the past. A little bit about myself in college, my very last year of school, I was going to school full time. I had 5 classes. The last semester of my senior year, I was still trying to play basketball, still doing track, and I was working about a total of 4 jobs at a time. And whenever I tell that story, people are looking like, "Oh my God, how did you survive? How did you survive?" Like you do what you have to do, but then listening to generations before us. And hearing their experiences when they were in school, they didn't have to work as much. So then we have to think about, okay, what changes were made, that we really, really have to do that. Yes, more millennials are educated than any other generation right now. But we also have to think about, okay, well, what have we added to our plate? And then let's look at student debt, right? And let's look at how much we are paying for school. So I do want to make sure that our listeners know that, you know, we relate on so many different levels, but we also have to pay attention to why sometimes we're spending so much, right? Or why sometimes we're working so much. The cost of living is higher and higher. We live in California, y'all. So Californians, they get it.
Very, very, very expensive too. And I'll put some of my information out there as well for listeners and for you, Taylor, as well. When I went to college, being one of the first people in my family to go to college, I didn't have anyone to teach me about loans or reading about interest. And so when it was time to register, and I was always registering late, I was coming to school not knowing if I can register, but I knew I had my dorm room. And then you just sign that paper on the line to get the loan to register for classes for the next semester, but you're not thinking about, I wasn't thinking about what that interest was, what that meant for when I graduated, what was that going to look like. I was thinking about my next class, and then you get out and you get that first bill, and there starts, that cycle of, just being in the hole continually and feel like you can never get ahead of it. So
yeah, and I think that's a really good place to get us to start talking about preparing for the future, because I just met someone the other day at the Women's March here in San Diego, and we of course were talking about student debt, but I was like, imagine starting your career with almost $50,000 in debt already or more. Where do we go from there? Actually, what we were talking about is the fact that less of us are paying into our retirement right now. Okay. There's not that many millennials doing so. I think we're about 15% less of us now are paying towards a retirement. And of course, there's even less of us that can actually afford a home. So we definitely want to talk about preparing for the future and also preparing for the worst. So Taylor, you touched a bit about your background and what made you, start to think about making changes. What were the changes that you actually made to push towards your future?
For me, I had to eliminate certain things that I noticed that I was spending money on. So the first thing I did, and this is what I like to call, just like teaching anybody anything, I laid it out easy, and this was the ABCs. And A meaning my accounts. Okay, I'm going to give y'all a second to write this down because this is gold right here. So these are, take some notes. Take some notes. So A being accounts. Okay, write that down. B being budget. And C being credit/credit cards. So for me, I said, okay, because that's just how I learn, right? I'm just like 1, 2, 3 ABCs, just like a baby learns how to walk. They first learn how to crawl. So I'm like, how can I make this? Okay, so accounts. I reviewed my accounts and I'm looking at where I was spending money on. Guess. Where do you think we spend money on as millennials?
At the club. At
at the club, at happy hours. I was spending exactly. That's where I was spending the most money at, and I wasn't understanding the concept of preparing meals to take to work and not eating out. So I had to cut back. But the first thing I did was I reviewed my accounts. The second thing I did was I established a budget. So I wanted to see my fixed expenses and my variable expenses. So I would advise anyone to write it down so it's tangible. So write it down on a notebook, on a paper. You write that stuff out, and then you can put it on a computer, whatever spreadsheet you follow that. But write down all your expenses, everything that's fixed, meaning your rent, your car insurance, your car note. These are fixed expenses. After that, I reviewed my credit, and this was something that I think historically, as African Americans, we're not familiar with how credit works. We're not taught that. They're not teaching that, and they're still not informing us on how credit is established or even how it can hurt you or help you in either way. So I pulled my credit report. And if I don't know if you know this, but there are websites that you can get free copies of.
Credit Karma, that's me.
Credit Karma is good.
That's my mascot.
And another one is I think it's annual credit reports. Annual credit reports. And you're allowed to get your credit reports. That website alone allows you to have your credit reports 3 times. So what I did was I wrote every 4 months I check my credit report. So I pull another one, and that's how I maintain it. So yeah, ABCs will help me.
ABCs, okay.
ABCs. I'm not gonna charge you for that one, but now that's a free pass.
Okay. Well, is this free?
It's free. It's free.
So let's break credit down.
Okay.
Because is it a total of 3 different sections as far as credit is concerned that we need to worry about or that we should focus on? Mm-hmm. Can we get some free 99 off that?
Okay. So I think first and foremost. Mm-hmm. I like to break things down to building blocks. So first, because honestly, realistically, when's the last time you reviewed your credit report?
Probably a month ago.
See? So you're on it. You probably knew I was,
Yeah.
What about you, Jamal? When's the last time you checked that thing?
It has to have been 8 to 12 months ago I checked my credit report last.
Okay, so
it's been a while.
Since I'll be recurring, let's hit the basics of reviewing your credit report. Because first things first, you want to review it, you want to pull it up. And what I like to tell people is make sure everything on there is accurate. If you have discrepancies, you identify that stuff right away. And then you can, once you identify those discrepancies and you dispute those, and then you can worry about the credit itself. Mm-hmm. Because if you have having negative hits on your credit, then that's going to screw you up more than anything. Right.
And it's important for the listeners to know that there are things on your credit that you can dispute.
Yes.
That you do have the option to do so.
Yes. And a lot of people don't know that.
Exactly. A lot of people do not know that. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know. But listening to friends, coworkers, and honestly, like I said, Credit Karma they kind of giving the ins and the outs for free. You can check regularly without getting dinged for it. Credit Karma is a really good resource. It's been really good for me as well. You can download the app and get right to it. That don't mean my credit is good, but but at least I'm checking. Exactly.
You have to start. You have to start, and I feel like a lot of people are afraid to see what's on their credit report. Yeah. They're afraid to see what's on, but you have to, because that's what you're essentially being judged by when you go and try to apply for things. So
you're right. So let's talk about the importance of preparing for our future and preparing for the worst. And I think it's good to think about that right now, because as we see, we have a government shutdown at the moment. So there's a number of workers who are affected by this, and it's not just about checks. It's about their livelihood. It's about their families, and it's about their future. And right now, there could be a number of people. There are a number of people who are unable to contribute to their future. And Taylor, actually, firsthand, because you are
I am a government employee, and I am being currently affected by the shutdown. And it's really unfortunate. Today we are on day 30 actually of the shutdown. So we are ridiculous. Yeah. This will be our second paycheck that we will not receive. So A lot of people didn't plan for that, considering the holidays. So a lot of people are struggling, trying to look for loans to secure, paying their mortgage or paying their rent. Because the creditors and the bill collectors are still calling. They're still calling. Hello.
There's a number of them to
Hello.
have. Yeah,
you're late. What's going on?
There's a number of them to have. Now, shout out to some of the banks and the property managers and a number of companies who are actually giving them a little leeway, and they're waiving certain late fees and doing a number of things. Shout out to them, but it's not a lot of them. Let's be honest.
Let's really
be honest. It's not. So
it's not. And a lot of them, they want you to have it already established as far as having direct deposit, so where they'll match it. They'll match what your deposit normally is on a regular pay period cycle.
Okay.
And then they'll give you that, but
that makes sense.
That's just 2 banks.
Oh, 2 out of the gazillion something.
It's just 2 banks.
That's crazy. That's actually good.
Yeah. And also to be clear for some listeners, because this is the conversation that we're having, because we're in it right now and learning what this means. Like, some people don't know, we don't know when people are going to get paid, and some people will get paid at the end of the shutdown, and some people will not get paid, depending on your position, what kind of work you are with the federal government. And so that's a hard position for a lot of Americans to be in right now.
Exactly.
It's just for the listeners, because there's 2 terms floating around, and it's furloughed and it's accepted. So just knowledge, furloughed means you normally work, but you're basically not required to go to work. So not even required. You're not going to work. You're staying at home on the couch, and you're not going to be paid for that time. And then you have your accepted employees that are your essential workers that have to go to work, and they're going to work and they'll be paid eventually. So that's what those 2 categories are.
Yes. But even though just recently though, now our furloughed folks have to go to work.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he just signed that too.
He just signed an order to send the furloughed employees to go to work. So we have a number of people that are working without getting paid. And just so folks know how close I am to this. No, I'm not a federal employee, but I do cross the border the southern border every day. So and that's the same border that your folks' president is saying is so dangerous and yada yada. I do cross every day.
So you cross over the border. So you walk on the ground, the sidewalk, because there's tunnels that go under. So you cross.
I haven't found the tunnels. I skip the tunnels. I skip the tunnels. I cross every day. I show my ID. I do it all. Even though there's more people that get by on a plane, but anyway, and
jet skis.
And every day I cross, it's pretty clear. It's not too backed up or anything as far as the lines of people waiting to cross like normal. But a guy the other day asked me where I was going. I said, I'm going to Dago. He goes, Lego. I said, no. I'm going to Dago. He goes, oh, I thought you said Legoland. I said, well, when I grow up, I'll be able to afford to go to Legoland. He goes, when I get paid, I'll be able to afford to go to Legoland. And that just hit, right? Like, just that quick, you realize, like, how people are affected. So I want it to be important for people to realize that even though these are government employees and we can assume that, they're being paid very well, some folks are still living check to check. I'm hearing stories about people having to pay for health care for their parents who have cancer or who are cancer survivors. I hear, folks having to pay a high cost of daycare, just a number of things. And when you see stuff on the news, Taylor, listen, when you see stuff on the news and the news is offering suggestions on how to make ends meet, like walking dogs or Ubering, that's insulting.
It is. And it's very insulting. However, there are people that weren't financially prepared for this situation. So there are a lot of people that are, resulting to Uber, Lyft. I'm not sure about, let me find somebody walking dogs, picking up some extra.
Listen, Wags is actually a decent little company,
I know, right? It is.
Wags is doing their thing right now. A number of people are using it. I know a ton of people. But okay, so we say all that to say you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
You
never know. So it is beneficial to prepare. Even if you can save what would you say, $1 a month, $1 a week, something, anything?
I would say like realistically, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say if you, so there's great apps. Like I use Digit. That's one of the apps that I use to save extra on the side. But for me, if you're spending a certain amount, I would say like round it up and then save that extra, whatever, $1 on it, 80 cents on it, 50 cents, whatever it is. Like just small things like that.
Yeah.
Because realistically, in our economy today, it is hard for some people to save.
Yeah.
But, however, my thoughts on that are, and this is just being honest, if you have time to do social media and if you have time to sit on the couch after your job, then you need to go get a part-time job where you are allowed to say, just a few hours, but you can save that extra money. And so
what I'm hearing you saying is basically sacrifice could be the first thing. Sacrificing your time, sacrificing maybe time with friends to begin to contribute to your future financially.
Personal experience. I sacrificed for 2 years. 2 years I sacrificed. I didn't, take any vacations. I didn't do anything extra extreme. But I had a visual on how much money I wanted to see in my account. And I challenged myself to make it that way, And it even took me, getting a roommate for a while so that I was able to save. And that's another situation where I like to tell people, can I share this with y'all?
Yeah.
I feel like our society, even as millennials, we have this image that we have to portray, we have to put off. However, we want to live this independent life, but you're working and making a dependent income. So why not? Listen, if I'm sitting next to you, Britt, and you my homegirl, why can't we get an apartment and, be roommates for a while to where we can both save something on the side? And that's how you really find out who your friends are, is if you can live with them. But you think if more of us had that mentality to where we can actually live together, while we're saving, we can all progress together. We can all get ahead because we're actually saving.
Yeah. You right. What you think, Jamal? She right?
Yeah, she's definitely right. I mean, you look at I'm thinking about how much I spend on coffee in a week,
Oh my God. Coffee? That's one of those things that adds up, brother. Yes.
It adds up. If you go to Starbucks every day during the week,
you balling.
People do. You balling. That's $14 right there.
Yes.
It could have been going into an account, you get in that line.
Hold on.
Cranberry scone.
And see, I was waiting. I said, now I'm waiting for the Jamal to say if he's getting some dessert, some little. Cause you don't just go get coffee. You get a little snack on the side.
That night meal at home, it was too healthy, and you get in that line and it's just calling your name. So it's like, I definitely need that scone.
And that's marketing.
And then you just spend $5, and then you want to get the green juice with the scone and the coffee. And the green juice gonna get the scone.
You a real connoisseur.
Calories later.
Dang, Jamal.
I'm telling my whole life, and I got coffee at home.
Ooh, and you know what? I just did that. I went and it's instant coffee because I don't have a coffee maker right now. But I just did that. I got instant coffee, so I will stop going to Starbucks or Coffee Bean. So I will stop paying for coffee outside of that. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, girl, you some instant coffee.
So which one is it? You want me to budget or you want me to spend all my money on Starbucks?
I'm going to have you invest in a Keurig or a coffee machine.
Well, how about this? I actually asked my family
instant
I tried to be good. I asked my family to collectively give me my Keurig Mini and the mint blue, and that didn't happen, okay? So
family, if y'all listening,
check out the zones. Listen, I be at GoodWill in the thrift store all the time.
That's
I got
true.
My Keurig.
They have a lot. Yes.
I got the deluxe Keurig for $20.
Really?
At my GoodWill.
Okay.
Yeah, so check the GoodWills around you. And you might find one for a bang for your buck. Seriously.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, I'm gonna keep looking. I normally check Craigslist.
Girl,
but Craigslist, I have it for $10 cheaper.
You know what? This Craigslist situation. I'm a hustler in real life. I'm over here. When Jamal said the GoodWill, I'm thinking, oh, you got that for $20. I could have sold it on offer up for $35.
Look at it.
And if I get tired of it, I'm gonna sell it for $50.
All Offer up. I'm telling you. Offer
Y'all
up.
crazy. But no, okay, but hold on, because
Back on subject.
right. I'm sorry, right. Okay, yeah, y'all
have to. By the way, so it's kind of on subject. Go to the thrift store, make your coffee at home. These are important little ways. I think
exactly.
That's true. And put money to the side. Round it up. Look at what you're doing in your day every day.
Yes.
That you don't need to do, because we're a culture of convenience, right? And convenience means you pay a lot of money. And we get caught up in convenience and don't look at what we're losing financially.
Yes.
And so I wanted to go further, Taylor, into why it's important to repair. Again, we're in a shutdown right now. You don't know. Anything can happen. Sickness, illness can happen if you're an hourly paid employee. You're not getting paid if you're sick. Why is it so important to save?
It's so important. Like, I concur with everything you just said. You never know what will happen. The unexpected can happen. You can lose someone, death in the family, which occurs a lot within our community and within millennials, and you see so many GoFundMe. That's how they became so popular and increasing in that. But like I said, it's important to save, because, you don't know when emergencies can occur and you need those funds. So just a little bit of sacrifice, the small little things, like you said about the coffee, it'll all pay off,
And just to go further too, how far ahead should we start thinking about saving? And in regards to, I've heard once before, and I just want your opinion on this, that you should aim to have an account where, like, if anything happened, you can take care of yourself for 6 months. If something happened, is it something that you suggest, like looking at how much do I need to save so that if anything happens, I am set for 6 months to a year? What would you suggest?
I would suggest, at my level right now where I am in my life, I'm at a year. So I'm set at a year. Now, starting off, I'm set at a year. So, we can play the shutdown game. I'm blessed to learn how to be financially literate, where I have a year's salary in my savings alone. Now, for a person starting out,
$1.
I got you, girl. I'm going to charge some interest on that thing.
Oh, damn.
But I'm just kidding. No, but for a person starting out, ideally, you would want to save at least 1 month and then, get to that level where you're at 6 months, where you can take care of yourself and your family without needing, anything else.
So,
absolutely.
So my question with that would be, so since we're talking about accounts, because that would be an account that's for emergencies, kind of like that, right? So to kind of piggyback off of Jamal, I've also had conversations of having different accounts for different things. So give us your take on what that should look like, at least for Black millennials right now. So if we want to set aside something for the club for however long, what would be your take on that?
I absolutely agree that having multiple accounts is absolutely necessary. And the best way that I advise people and I suggest people to do it is by having an allotment set up through your current deposit system, through your bank, to where you're not seeing that money be taken and deducted away from your check, to where it's going separately in an account and you're not touching it. And I would suggest starting off as small as $25, $50 a check for someone just starting out, because you look at that and that's $100 if you're being paid bi-weekly, $100 a month. Now you're looking at $1,200 a year, and this is money that you should not be touching, and that's just a secure whatever, that's an emergency fund for whatever. So I did that, and I've also done some other things, but I do have multiple accounts, and trust me and believe, it absolutely has helped me a lot, because I'm not using those debit cards from any transactions. It's completely secured somewhere else where I don't see it, and therefore I don't have it.
Absolutely. And I also think, too, that it's saving for the future, for emergencies, saving for your life future, investing in your retirement, but also it's these things that we consider an emergency that aren't really an emergency. Like, if you drive a car, you're going to need new brakes.
Yes.
Like, you're going to need a tune-up at a certain amount of miles. Those are things that we deem emergencies and put off, but those are things that are going to come around. You have to pay for registration, and it's expensive as hell in California. I think for myself, holding myself accountable, it's not acting like things that come up every year are an emergency when it's actually something that you should be putting to the side, because you
that's a great point.
Yeah, you're right. So I'll give a little bit of my experience. So when I first moved to California, I came with a good amount of money, so I could chill for about a month and without having to work. I, of course, looked for work because I wanted to work. I wanted to use work as the way to be social, a number of things, and meet new people. But as far as my savings were concerned, I kept that aside. I haven't touched my savings before moving here for a while. And actually what I did was every time I got and keep in mind, you guys, I was young. I moved here when I was 23, so I was still in school. So I actually was getting money back with tax returns. So whenever I got that money, I would never touch it. I would put that money in my savings.
Hold on, let me call the IRS real quick. Hello? Come get her.
This is the money they gave me.
Somebody come get her.
Get out of here. Anyways, so whenever I got my refund, I put that money in my savings. And then some things happened. And I'll be honest, I was never able to save again. It's been 5 years. So once we have that emergency, and whether it wipes out everything or wipes out, just majority, half, whatever, what suggestions would you give to start to begin that saving process again, especially if you're still in the realm of working check to check?
I would just say do what you did the first time, because obviously it helped, right? And just like you hit a great point when you're talking about tax season, which we are approaching.
Yes.
And that is money that can be saved, because that's, bulk for some people that do get to receive it. That they should be putting away. However, living millennial. Speak on it.
We're talking about ourselves right now.
Right.
You're already, you know what? This is the thing. If you can manage your schedule for work, if you can manage your schedule for working out, if you can manage the time you spend with your friends, whether happy hour or whatever, I'm going to see you on Thursday, I'm going to hang out with you on Saturday, then there is absolutely no reason why you can't manage your finances.
Ooh.
So we've reached a point to where we're not holding ourselves accountable, right? And it's like going back to taxes. People are probably, can't add anything else up, but they can calculate to the penny of what their tax refund should look like. Okay, to the penny of what their tax refund. Listen, they can't calculate anything else, but when it comes to that tax refund, they know exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we should be able to, as millennials, we need to learn how to save some of that. Put that aside for a rainy day.
You're right.
Man,
yeah.
Amen. And also too is like, we don't talk about finances to each other enough. Because we're always embarrassed about our situation. And I have accountability partners with finances where we can talk candidly about our finances, where we're failing, and hold each other accountable. Because you have an accountable partner, and this doesn't have to be a friend. This could be a friend where you all hold each. This is just your financial friend. Where you all give each other's challenges each month with your finances, and that's like, the core of your friendship, like, accountability. And when you talk about your finances, someone that you talk to your finances about is going to be able to look at your tendencies that maybe you're blinded, because there's also a psychology that comes with money, I think, based on how you're raised, where you come from. And sometimes you need an outside vision, which is why it's so great that you do what you do, Taylor. Y'all hit Taylor up. I'm telling you, this would be great for you. Because having someone advise you will be that mirror looking at you for the things that psychologically you just act like it's not there. Like I act like my credit card bills are not there. I'm really good at it. I'm a professional at acting like those credit card bills do not exist, and student loans.
That was student loans here too.
So accountability, I think, is very important for us to stop being scared about talking about our money problems out loud.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm going to be honest too, I think my issue is I feel like I do it all to start, right? I've got the financial budget book or planner for the year. I write down, I go through my accounts all the time. I have pages and pages of what I should be budgeting, all that stuff. But when it's actually time to implement those things, I'm still so stuck in my habits. So I will automatically go and buy that coffee, right? Because it's a habit. Really, and y'all know me, y'all know me. What's my favorite? My favorite is the chips.
Them chips.
So before I get coffee, I'm probably gonna get some chips, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's really what kills me. This was sometime last year, the year before. I went back on my accounts. I went through my transactions and everything that was like $1.70, $2, something like that. I knew exactly what it was. It was chips, and I calculated it.
You know
every
what?
swipe for like that $1.79, right? Or back then $1.69. You know they going up
and then
10 cents.
That fee, the fee that they charge you for swiping.
I don't get charged. So the places
the
I used
store.
to go to wouldn't charge me the extra 50 cents.
You know
yeah,
what?
or that
We're not going to
25
speak
cents.
about the places you go.
Yeah, don't ask me where I go. But I think I calculated it up to, I think I did a good 3 months. I went back on a good 3 months, and y'all, I was spending on. I went strictly on that because this is how bad the habit is. It's that bad that, you know, I had to really break it out and focus on it. And altogether, I think it came up to like over $130 within 3 months on chips.
That's insane.
It is, right? I mean, ask me if anything's different, though.
You know what? It
might be a little different,
Let
but
me give you some advice.
It's about the implementation.
It is. You know what? Can
What?
I give you some advice?
Uh-oh, I got it. I'm ready.
And this is, you know, this is for the listeners. I honestly, Jamal, I commend Brittany for sitting here calculating her. So she, you know, just like everything else, you admit you have a problem. You admit it. You admit you have a problem. Mm-hmm. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to take your chips away. However, I will give you some advice. Okay, so my motivation to understand money and my passion for learning to understand money, I feel like I have a PhD from the street life. I learned from the hustlers. That was what I admired. So I look at everything like a hustle, right? So this is what I would suggest, Brittany, and I want you to try this. And for the listeners, I want you to try this too. Pull your money. How many of your do you have your bills on auto pay?
Yes.
Okay. So you know exactly when they're going to come out, right? So don't see that extra money in your checking. I challenge you to take it and put it in your savings. Only put in your checking what you need. Take some cash out and use that as your spending money. Give yourself like some spending money. Like $130, so divide that for your chips. So divide that by 3, and then just use cash. So take the cash out for your chips and things like that, but take your money out of your checkings and put it into your savings. Because us as millennials, if we see it, we spend it. Right? If we see it, we spend it. So take it out of your checking account and put it into your savings account, and not touch it. When you see money in your account, you spend it. When you see money in your account, you spend it.
Okay.
Yep. That's
so
very true.
Direct deposits, they hit my savings account. All my direct deposits go to my savings account.
Okay.
And from there, I'm off a budget, so I put back what I know is coming out for bills. And then I take a portion out and I use that as my cash money.
Okay.
You know, and that's what I use for my free play, as far as, you know, the little Starbucks treats I have. And I don't have the chip addiction, but
that's beautiful advice right there. And just like Taylor just said, like, it's okay to treat yourself. Like, budget for treating yourself. Like,
exactly.
if you know you like to go to a happy hour, a nice restaurant, you know that's going to be coming up. Maybe not every month, you know, or every week like we usually do. But we're trying to get better at money. Maybe next month you're going to save up for that restaurant you want to go to while doing all your other budgets. And this is your treat for yourself. And then this is a reward for, you know, following these tools and getting better with money. Like, you can still treat yourself, but prepare to treat yourself.
Ooh. Exactly. And you know, when we use cash, it's harder for us to spend. Psychologically, it's harder to spend cash than swiping your card.
Yeah.
So
I don't know anymore. I haven't carried much cash since my serving days. So I'm gonna try that out for sure because I'm so used to swiping. It's not even funny.
Yeah, exactly. Just try it.
Let's talk about stripping because I'm really thinking about.
You know what?
Oh my goodness!
I was thinking. You said what?
Oh my. Players Club, right?
She said what job, and the first thing came to mind. I said grocery store or liquor store with chips.
So I can give them their money back. No way. My first job when I think I was 16 was at this it was at a place called Fashion Footwear. It was like such a little ghetto store. and it was ran by like a Polish couple who was actually pretty cute. But I could not. Every time it was time for me to get paid, they got half that check right back because I was spending it on them Air Ones, on jeans, on jackets, because that store carried everything. So I've learned my lesson on working for places that I could really benefit from in that manner. Exactly right, because think about it, like you doing inventory and things like that.
You put items on hold.
Yeah, exactly. They be like, "Oh, put that in the back." I'm like, "Okay, yeah," because they know they don't get the money. They know Brittany gonna buy it. Oh, Brittany will think this is cute. Put that aside for her.
You know what? That's a setup too.
Exactly. So ever since then, I knew better. So I know not to work at no convenience stores or nothing like that. I know, but I'm also being picky because. Look, living millennial, I'm also being picky. I have my bachelor's, I have my degree, so there's some things, not to like degrade anybody who's working in entry level jobs or anything like that, but you know, we were talking earlier about working in jobs that are fulfilling, and you know, when you have your mind set on that, you know, not just any job is going to do the trick. For some of us.
Because I know people that have master's degrees that work in stores, like regular, retail stores, unfortunately.
For sure.
Yeah, and we have
because,
to. Which happens, we have to do it. And listen, I've served for a long time. I've been in customer service for a really long time. We have to do it, but think about it. You went to school, you studied this particular subject, you graduated, you walked across the stage, you got your degree, or what I call a receipt, basically, right? We got our receipts. Even before going to school, let's go back to what you were talking about, Jamal, with like, with focusing on school and nobody really teaching you what the student loan payment will really truly look like.
That's
right?
A trap.
And one thing that I always mention is, I was always told I have to go to school, and we were sold this dream of going to school, getting your degree, and then finding a job within that field right away. So then you will have enough money to pay for the student debt that you start your career with. But that's not everybody's reality. That's not majority of our reality. So we will have to take the jobs that we will need just to make ends meet. So regardless, we will have to, start thinking about finances right away. And we haven't really prepared for that. And I mean, this isn't necessarily talking about preparing for the worst, but were we ever prepared for anything,
to
right?
Start,
were we ever prepared for to start for the best? I mean, again, starting your career with $50,000 plus in debt, and that hits your credit in a year when they come back and start asking for you to pay that $500+ a month to pay back your student loans. Like, how have we prepared for that? Probably not, because we didn't think about those things.
And that's what they're not teaching.
And that's what they're not breaking down for us.
They're not teaching that. And like everything, and I've shared this with you before, Britt, everything that I've learned about finance, I've learned outside of school. I did the opposite. I started my business without a degree. I started my career based off of my experience, which was equivalent to a degree.
Gotcha.
And then I went back to school to secure the certification and the certificate of the knowledge that I've already, had. So I did it backwards, but I completely understand. And that's a problem that we are facing today, is that you start the career, like you said, and you're in debt. So where, as millennials, we start a career and a good job, and you're like, yeah, I'm winning. Like, I'm spending my check on this. I'm not thinking about that student loan I have, all that debt, because no one is teaching that, and still no one is teaching that. So plug me. I can help you out.
Yeah,
I got you.
Reach out to Taylor. Reach out to Taylor, because I am.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that goes in everything you're saying, Brittany, as well. I think that goes like into the psychology of money and how we look at money, and also how we look at the job that we have. I have a master's degree,
Right.
and I'm in the arts, and the millennials are moving into the arts way of things a lot, right?
You're right.
So what that looks like is that you don't have a salary job. It means that you are always looking another job when you're in the arts, right? And
Exactly.
so you do have to. I have a side job. I'm an actor. I have films out there. I'm highly trained, but I still have a side job. I clean homes. I'm running my own business, cleaning homes. But I have to work in the psychology because at first when I graduated with my master's, I'm supposed to be acting, I'm supposed to be doing this thing. And I'm listening to another podcast, Oprah. Shout out to Oprah.
We love Oprah.
Auntie O.
Yeah, and she told this story about running into this black man who was a house cleaner, just like me. And her initial response was like, "Oh my God, this must be difficult. My grandmother used to do that." And he looked at her and said, "No, actually, I love what I do." He said, people letting me into their most personal, vulnerable spaces with the hopes that I'm going to uplift the spirit of their home is no easy thing. And he felt very grateful to have the job that he did. So I had to work on my psychology of what I was doing and look at it as a gift. And once I started looking at me as an actor, highly trained, whatever that means, and doing what I have to do for a job, I said, I have to switch my psychology where if I'm going to do it, I have to find the joy in what I'm doing. And there's a lot of side jobs out there that you can love. Look at your life. Look at what you love to do as a hobby. If you do yoga, there's going to be a yoga studio looking for somebody to work the front desk. And then you get free yoga, and you don't have to pay $150
a month. Okay,
you're right.
You can be creative. Look into your life, your interests, and there's jobs and opportunities out there that will pay you. And it may be once a week, but that once a week you get $50 is something that you can just be sliding into a savings somewhere.
Right,
It all works and builds up. So I think all these things go back to the psychology and how we think about money.
Yeah, you're right.
A deep point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's pair that with what Taylor was saying. If you have time to be on social media and have time to watch your favorite show, hang out with friends, number of things. You make those sacrifices, and then if you change your psychology with making those sacrifices, right, and which is what you were saying, Jamal, then I think it becomes easier. And then that 2 to 3 years that we may have to continue to work those additional jobs, that's going to go by like a breeze, that's going to go by so fast, and it's going to be so enjoyable. So I definitely get that. And you guys both have some very insightful things to say. I want to add a little bit to that and just say, but let's also not be afraid to get out there and let our voices be known in terms of civic engagement. And let's pay attention to, especially local government, supposed to represent us, and they're making decisions on our cost of living. Let's be mindful of that, and let's also make our voices heard if there's some things and decisions that they're going to make that we do not agree with, and that we know is going to be hard for us to do. I saw a meme, not really a meme, but a picture the other day, and it was by Black Lives Matter in Nashville, and they did a 10-year challenge, but it was for the minimum wage in Nashville and the cost of living, right, or the cost of rent.
Wow. So
it said 10 years ago the minimum wage was $7.25. Where the cost of rent on average was $700. That was 10 years ago, right? So the challenge from 2018, the minimum wage was $7.25. But the cost of rent, the average cost of rent was $1,400.
Wow.
So, yes, we have to make ends meet. We do what we have to do, but let's also pay attention to what's happening around us and what financial decisions our representatives are making. So we can actually possibly have a chance to enjoy our lives, and us having those part-time jobs isn't mandatory. And it can honestly be, just an additional option for us, and not mandatory to pay rent, and we're not forcing 2 to 3 families to live under one roof. So I do want us to focus on that and not be so embedded in working that things are happening around us that we can actually have some say about,
For sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Great point.
So I always want folks to pay attention. I know I didn't always pay attention, but now that I am, I'm telling other folks to do so. But Thank you, Taylor, so much for all your insight, honestly. I thought I was already going to know all there is to know about finances, but no, I'm just kidding.
I hope I was able to shed light on just a few tips, and hopefully I was able to help you and the listeners out.
Yeah,
thank you guys for having me back. I appreciate that.
Such a pleasure having you. Such a pleasure having you. And just to remind our listeners, how can they find or get in touch with you?
I am on Instagram at TaylorGain619 on IG.
Mm-hmm. That's Gains with a Z, right?
Gains with a Z, because we're here for the gains. We want to see that increase in our bank accounts, that increase in our investments. Yes,
those financial gains.
It was fun. It was so fun. Thank you guys for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. We look forward to having you in the future. I can't wait till we really start talking about like investments.
Yes.
I cannot wait to talk about that. So you guys listen out for that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big shout out to KMSJ, a local radio station here in San Diego, for allowing us to use their space. And shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you guys. If you like what you heard, let us know via Instagram or Facebook. Also, let us know via the Anchor app and leave reviews on whatever you're listening to this podcast on. It's greatly appreciated. And big shout out to Jamal. Jamal, we're so happy to have you back.
Yes. I'm happy to be back.
A lot of folks were asking about you, so we're happy to have you back. Big shout out to Mandisa. Mandisa, we miss you.
We miss you, Mandisa.
We miss you.
So much.
Yes,
so
but
much love your way.
Yes, we love her. We miss her. She will be back soon. Listeners, we get in where we fit in, so you'll get one of us, two of us, three of us. Thank you again for tuning in. Y'all be blessed.
Do I say bye now?
You can say bye, Jamal.
Bye.
We are living millennials. Oh, ba 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 ba.
Be sure to subscribe to our show, follow us on IG, and tell us what you think.